And welcome to the Midday Show. We're back again. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. How you doing, Mark?
I am doing fantastic. Except I had a scare just a minute ago. How big is your husky? How much do you think it weighs?
70 pounds. It's a big dog.
All right. Well, you got a big dog, and it was doing. What do you call when he runs around the house?
Hot laps.
Zoomies.
Hot laps. Zoomies. Hot laps. Whatever you want to call them.
Well, he was ripping around the house, and he was coming down the hallway, and he's coming right at me. And there was a moment that I thought, uh-oh. But then the dog just kind of nimbly went around me, because probably in that same moment, the dog was like, I do not want to mess with this guy. So I would just run around. But there was he was dead collision with me in the hallway, and I was afraid.
I'm sure he was very intimidated. Neat story
here.
You
would have been. Let's be honest. You would have been.
No. Neat story here. This is, drink companies try stuff all the time. They try gimmicks. They try promotions. This one, I don't know. Pepsi and Peeps are coming together this spring, and they are putting out a drink called Pepsi times Peeps, Pepsi X Peeps, however you want to say it. And they're combining the flavors. It's supposed to be a sweet yet soft marshmallowy taste. Will you try it, Mark?
Will I try it? I mean, out of morbid curiosity, yes. As you describe it, I can't believe that it's, and I am when you send me when I pull into the mini market and I'm on a road trip and I need a beverage for the road and I go up, like Coke, Pepsi, those are where I go. With all the thousands of choices, I am Pepsi to me is just fine the way it is. I can't, and as you get older, like the more sweet things get, the more you're like, so
sure.
It just sounds so disgustingly sweet. I don't even think I could stomach it, but I'll try it. I guess I'll never buy. I'm never buying a 6-pack of bottles or anything.
In Pepsi's ad, they described it as pillowy, soft, and sweet.
Were they describing me, or were they describing?
Because I don't know. And it was also called the perfect thirst quencher for this springtime. I don't know. It doesn't sound appealing to me, and I'm a huge Coke and Pepsi guy. I don't know if I'll try it. There's just something, and there's actual marshmallow in the drink. Obviously they're not like floating around or anything, but they're actually like part of the ingredient is what is in a marshmallow. I don't know. This is just a little too far out for me.
Is Coke the one that has the orange? One of them just has a new kind of whatever. And I just saw the thing the other day and they talked about how spectacular it was and so maybe it's just a reaction to another reaction. Maybe it's just, they need to market something. I don't know, but I will say this, it's creative. It's not a combination. We think of, orange or cream or vanilla or whatever. And then I would not have thought of Pepsi and marshmallow, but so good for them. And whatever. I don't know.
That was good. Elton John's birthday. I'm a little younger, so I have my Elton John memories, I'm sure will not connect with everybody else's Elton John memories. But it is Elton John's birthday. Do you have an experience or an Elton John story for us?
I have a good story that I wasn't going to tell, but I've told my kids that I'm doing this just to make sure, March 20th, it is his birthday. I'm the one that told you this, and I was like, I should double check and make sure we have the right day. I've told my kids, you want to have a collection of idiot friends, because they're fun. And they're the ones that do stupid things. You have fun. When you have parties, you don't want to invite these people to your house because they'll destroy it. But when you're just well, that person's an idiot, it doesn't mean you don't want to be their friend. They keep life lively. And I had a friend back in my 20s who they were talking about, I lived in Baltimore and Elton John was coming to the outdoor venue and whatever. And literally they had 4 tickets and people were going and whatever. And this guy literally he's like, I'm not going. Elton's gay. I'm not going. And I was like, well, I'll go. Can I buy your ticket? He's like, sure, I don't want it. So that's how I got to see my first Elton John concert. Because now I don't know, I didn't really go into it because Elton John is a homosexual, and that's, you know, well documented and all that stuff. So I don't know if he was using the comment as like a young person, like saying his music is not cool, it's a little too soft or nostalgic, or that he was just being, you know, like a bigoted homophobe or whatever. But be that as it may, I got an Elton John ticket out of it, and I've seen him twice. I took my daughter. It was my daughter's first real concert because, you know, musically she was a very old soul, and she was, you know, how old is she now? She's probably 12 or 13 listening to Elton John, and I didn't know if it was going to be his last tour, and we bought tickets to see him. But so I've seen him twice. I saw him a long time ago, and I saw him now, and he's had a decent career.
Yeah, he's done okay for himself.
He's done okay.
I can tell you, for a younger generation, especially like people that were born kind of like late 80s, maybe early 90s, and kind of went through like the MTV peak, like the late 90s, 2000s, where like MTV was the TRL and it was it. And so I went through that with Eminem. And when they did the Grammy performance where Elton John played the piano and Eminem performed his song, and then at the end of it, they joined hands and they held it up in the air. That was for me, like, I remember being an older teenager, and I remember that was the first time for me, like, this is art. It's not always meant to be taken literal. And growing up, like, if, you know, parents didn't want you listening to Eminem, it was controversial. And I remember like seeing that and thinking to myself, like, you know what, like, he's just putting on a show. His music is a show. It's art. Some people are going to interpret it differently, but it was the first time in my life where I was kind of like, oh, like, not everything is literal. Sometimes like you can come together and collaborate and do stuff, whether you have difference of opinions, and you can create your art and this person can create their art, and they can have different sexual orientations and work together. That was kind of a very like big moment for me. And it was really like my first Elton John. Like, I knew his music, but I'd never like actually watched him or seen him perform or do anything. So my first Elton John experience was like very monumental for me as like a 16, 17-year-old, like trying to figure out the world. So for that reason, I appreciate him.
Have you seen Rocket Man? The movie?
I have, yes.
I mean, he had a rough go of it, and obviously being a gay man back then it's much more accepted now, and you can, you know, so he had a rough go, and he, you know, with drugs and with just dealing with all the pressures of fame as it was, and all the stuff that went along with it. I'll tell you, this is my other stupid Elton John story. The Muppet Show, which was before your time, but for anyone my age, when we saw the Muppet Show, they had real live guests. And the first time I ever heard Empty Garden was on the Muppet Show. And you probably don't even know it. Like, it's an Elton John hit, but it's not one of the, I think it was on Greatest Hits Volume 2, but he wrote it about John Lennon. And Empty Garden is my favorite Elton John song. And the first time I saw it, he was probably sitting next to Ralph. Maybe Ralph was even playing the piano, and it wasn't Elton John. You know, Ralph the dog on the piano playing dog, and he might, you know, it might have had Animal on the drums and Kermit singing backup. But so yeah, that's my other Elton John story that I discovered as my favorite Elton John song on the Muppet Show.
Nice. Let's do this. Let's spin the wheel, and then maybe we'll come back to Rocket Man before we talk about Alize Johnson, the Williamsport native's big night last night in the NBA. As a reminder, please support our sponsors. Buffalo Wild Wings is with us for the months of March, gave us a bunch of gift cards to help you out. So as you're enjoying March Madness, as you're watching the games as they come back this weekend, be sure to reach out to Buffalo Wild Wings, grab your wings from there. We also have Palco Frederick Credit Union, Visa gift cards. We also have the Break Room with some gift cards as well as the Eat and Run Catery, and we have Moon and Raven. And then, of course, we have our cash jackpots. So we have our $20 cash prize, and we have the big jackpot, which is now goes up $5 every day, and I believe we're up to $160.
I was going to say $165. One of these days we'll write it down, and we'll have a big announcement. Instead of every day we look at each other and go, we're like, what was it yesterday? We can do the +5 as long as we know what it's like. X +5, but what was X? So, you know. Anyway.
So in order to have a chance to win, join the Midday Show Facebook group. You're automatically entered in the drawing. If we draw your name, we spin the wheel behind me. We're going to keep growing the prizes. We're going to keep growing the sponsors. We have some new ones coming up next month. So join the Midday Show Facebook group. Follow along with us. Today's random winner out of the Facebook group is
Alize Johnson. Oh, sorry.
Lingard Connor. I'm going to assume it's probably Connor Lingard. So congratulations to Connor. And I'm going to spin the wheel here for you. I've gone cold a little bit, I think, the last couple
Well, 2 days ago you hit one. You're not bad.
True. That's
you
true.
should mathematically, you should be 1 out of 3 because there's 18 spots on the wheel. We have 12 blanks. We have 6 prizes. So you should go 1 out of 3. You don't. You go like 1 out of 9. But you can pick up the pace here. I think the weather's warming up. You're warming up. I believe in you.
The irony of you telling someone to pick up the pace is too much for me. Here we go. This one's for Connor Lingard. Oh, empty space. Empty space. And
space, empty garden. Go. I know you don't know the song. Go Google it when you're done. It's fantastic.
I'll go back and look at it. Before we talk about Alize Johnson's big night, transitioning from one Rocket Man to another, we tried to prep that transition, and then we wanted to do that.
Aren't we clever? That's why you tune in.
Thank you. One Rocket Man to another. It recently just came out. North Korea fired 2 ground-based ballistic missiles. It's the first time since Biden has taken over that they have tried to test any of their armory. And South Korea came out and has verified it. Biden kind of laughed it off a little bit, not to be taken seriously. So the big thing right now, and I've kind of like dove into this, and I, how much do you know about North Korea, Mark? Like, have you ever been fascinated by it?
I know it's above South Korea. I mean, the most interesting point that you brought up, and I don't know what else you're going to go into, so I'll pretend that I know this and I'll steal your thunder from it. But it's, the way it's geographically laid out, as you like, people are like, why don't we just attack North Korea? Why don't we just bomb North Korea? Like if we take military action, well, if their people flee into a refugee, then they only have one place to go, and they have to go south, and they have to go to South Korea, who we like. And it's not like, it would not be what our friends around the world would not be like, oh, good move. Yeah, you just sent all the North Koreans into South Korea, and now it's so. Yeah. From an aggressive military position, that's not really a good option for us. So because of how they're geographically laid out, we don't want to make the world worse for somebody else. So we're a little limited.
This is one of those rare moments, and I was kind of talking to you about it beforehand. It's one of the rare moments where when you start to connect the dots, it just shows how everything is interconnected and how important some things are. Recently, like some of the hate crimes that have happened in America against Asian Americans, this is the first time in probably in history where I don't know if the Asian continent would necessarily just be 100% on board with America versus North Korea. And what I mean by that is obviously they understand North Korea is an issue. The world understands North Korea is an issue. Actually, there was just a piece in the Japan Times where Japanese leadership was talking about, like, there's no good way to solve this. We officially don't know how to handle North Korea. So it's not that there's like a building or a backing for North Korea, but you look at the last 4 years and you look at the way hate crime has gone up on Asian Americans. And then, like, geographically, if something were to happen, there is a refugee crisis that would fall into the laps of South Korea and other Asian communities. And they would be looking around like, we are not prepared to handle this. Like, we're not ready for just refugees to flow over and to flow in. It's just the first time in history where it's not as simple as like United States versus North Korea, and you can just assume every nation in Asia is just going to back us. It's a weird moment in time. I'm not saying I know how to handle it, but I think for some people it's very simplistic, like go in there, handle it, get it over with. And, you have other countries in Asia just kind of throwing their hands up and going, listen, like, we don't know the solution either. We're not sure how to handle this. So it's been going on for a long time now. There's a fascinating documentary on Vice News where they actually went into North Korea and spent a week. If you've ever wondered what North Korea is really like, it is I promise you, it is beyond your wildest thoughts. It is a false state of reality. The moment you cross the border, it's kind of creepy. And it's just, I don't know. I think it's interesting, how we handle this. It's one of the real major conflicts moving forward. And I don't think it's actually gotten more complicated, I guess is my point. It hasn't gotten simpler in the last year. It's gotten more complicated because of what we're doing in America and how countries are going to start viewing us in the Asian continent. I don't know. It's an interesting time to be dealing with North Korea.
Okay, so here's what I took. You read some Japanese newspaper?
Every once in a while, I will go on, I will hit the times for different countries. Because a lot of times what happens is I'll see one of our stories and I will want the perspective of what another country thinks or sees as. So if a lot of times if you read a story about a mass shooting, or if you read a story, if you read the story about the Atlanta shooting or the Colorado shooting this past week, it is fascinating to go and see what a newspaper in France said, what a newspaper in China said, what a newspaper in Japan said. It's neat to just see the other world's perspective of us and what they think. I don't always agree with it. Sometimes I do, but it is just like the shoe on the other foot. How do they view us on the outside? It just gives you a broader perspective of kind of what's going on.
So I'm guessing this newspaper is not in Japanese.
Well, it's true. Google is fantastic. They'll translate it for you. It helps out.
Good. Wow. I was just, for a moment there, I was just impressed. And now that moment,
you're no longer impressed?
No, that moment has passed, and now I'm back to good. I'm good.
Alize Johnson, the Williamsport hometown hero. He finally, I don't want to say finally, because he's had moments. He's had opportunities in the G League. He's had opportunities to get some minutes in the regular season. But last night was really kind of I don't want to call it a coronation, but it was a moment. And he finally kind of got a chance. Do you want me to read off the stats first, or do you have them over there?
Yeah, go ahead. Give it. No, I know, but you read it.
Just real quick, he ended the night 33 minutes of playing time. He had 23 points. He was 11 for 15 from the field. He grabbed 15 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. And here's the 2 kickers. He did it against the number 1 team in the Western Conference. So it's not like he did this against a bunch of scrubs. He was competing against the best of the best in the conference. And he is the first Nets player since 1981 to have a 15 and 15 in his debut. So just a really great night for him, and for someone who finally got it.
Does it have that?
It doesn't have who it was. It does not say who it was. If I had to guess, 1981. No, it would have been early. I was gonna say Moses Malone, but that would have been too early. Because didn't he play for the Nets a little bit at the beginning of his career before he was traded to the Sixers? I might have that wrong. Yeah, either way, it's too early. He would have been drafted way before that.
Moses was in the 70s. Yeah, that's when he came up. The interesting thing about Alize, and obviously I'm not a basketball scouting expert, but in the D League and the G League or whatever the initial that's going in front of the league, he's put up huge rebounding numbers. And it's just, when you talk to people who barely know, they look at points, but people who know basketball know how important it is to rebound. And there's this kind of belief that the ball, it just bounces off and whoever gets it. Well, some of them do. And that's why if you're a guard, you're going to, and you play enough, you're going to get a couple rebounds just from being on the court. But he was putting up huge rebounding numbers and to go along with scoring. So I just you can't do this by accident. And it's kind of like a AAA guy. If you're hitting 370 at AAA, that's not an accident. And it means you can hit. So I always wondered why he didn't get a chance. And you talked about his measurables. People always talk about length. And you're he didn't have, when they measured fingertip to fingertip, other guys were longer. But I was I get all that. And I get, there are 40-yard dash times, there are vertical leap things, there's things like that. But when you put somebody on the field or on the diamond or on the court, and all they do is produce, so when I saw this, obviously 11 for 15, it's a fantastic night, and guys don't shoot they don't shoot 70% from the floor for the season. But it's not shocking. I mean, I'm happy for him that he got his moment. And because of that, because he obviously did well, he is going to get more moments. Now, he's not one of these nights he's going to get 17 minutes and he's going to get, he's going to be a 5-and-4 guy or something like that. He is not going to be king of the double-double. But and I know this is a long-winded answer, he was so consistently big in scoring and rebounding in the D League and the G League that I can't believe he doesn't stick somewhere in the NBA. Maybe not as a starter, maybe not as a superstar, but on these rosters of guys that you can rely on, I can't believe he doesn't stick, and I hope that last night was that moment where, like Jeremy Lin, you remember Jeremy Lin? Yep. He had his flash where he was a superstar, but then he stuck for a long time. And hopefully that because of last night, Alize now sticks, and for the next 10 years, he's on a roster and he's getting minutes.
Yeah, he definitely did what he had to do. Just to put it into context, the Brooklyn Nets were down, I think, 4 starters. Kevin Durant didn't play, James Harden didn't play, Kyrie Irving didn't play. So it created this perfect storm where it wasn't like he just got to play 33 minutes. He got to play 33 minutes where, like, he was very involved and he had to be involved. And that was really critical. For a lot of these guys, it's just about getting a chance. Did you fall into the right opportunity? Did you get your moment? And then when you finally did get your moment, did you grab it? What I would give him the most credit for, there's a lot of random guys who float around the G League, who get on the end of an NBA bench, and then when they get their 25, 30 minutes, like when that night finally happens, they don't really like reach out and grab it. And to his credit, like when he got his 33 minutes, like he reached out and grabbed it. You brought up rebounds. When they go from college to the NBA, and scouts talk about this a lot, like one of these statistics that transfers over the best is rebounding. So typically in college, if you are like a great rebounder, for whatever reason, that typically translates over to the NBA very, very well, because there's a lot of skills and there's a lot of things that don't work that way. Like you could do it in college, but then when you get to the NBA, for whatever reason, it doesn't work. Rebounding is one of the few that does, and he has done that consistently from the moment he's left Williamsport. So I'm happy for him. Obviously we all are. The stuff on social media was everywhere. The question now is, I think he's so likable, and I think he works so hard. He's getting an opportunity right now to be around an organization where he's around a lot of powerful people. Like, it's not like he did this for the Memphis Grizzlies, and nothing against the Memphis Grizzlies. He did this for the Brooklyn Nets, an organization where your head coach is Steve Nash. The assistant coach is Mike D'Antoni, who's been incredibly successful. He's doing it where the best players on the team are Kyrie Irving, who has a ton of pull wherever he goes in that organization. Kevin Durant, same thing. James Harden, same thing. So he's getting a chance to do this around people where if they like him and they see how hard he works and they see what he does, even if it's not with Brooklyn, if Mike D'Antoni takes another head coaching job, hey, you know who I really liked when I was in Brooklyn? Alize Johnson. If Kyrie Irving ends up with another organization, hey, you know who I really liked to play with in practice when I was in Brooklyn? Alize. So he's getting an opportunity to have a moment here with a lot of people who are going to have say in this league for the next 3, 4, 5 years and more. And to me, that's the more exciting part. And not, like you said, I think there's people who knew what he could do if given the opportunity. For me, it's who he's getting to do the opportunity in front of. And that's what excites me.
That's a very valid point. When you made the comment about grabbing the opportunity, see, I didn't see it that way, because I just see like this is what he does. Like when he gets to play, this is, so, and I know there's guys that, like, if you're a shooter, you got to make your shots, and if you're, but it's almost like in any other sport, like with a hitter, or like when my brother was coming up through pitching, and we're like, oh, at the next level, it's like he just gets people out. That's what he always does. So when he went to the big leagues and he got people out, and everyone's like, there's this level of surprise, I was like, we're not surprised, because that's what he's always done. And we realize that these guys are better, but every level they always kept getting better, and he kept getting people out. So when Alize goes to the NBA and he gets 33 minutes, and you tell me he gets 23 and 15, and you're like, like, yeah, I understand the aspect of like he grabbed his opportunity, but he just played that's his game. And again, it's not always going to be like that, but I just think there's this opportunity. And as you said, there's so many guys that just need the opportunity. And yeah, I'm glad that he did as well as he did, and he needed 33 minutes to get it. But I'm not surprised, and I'm not surprised if he sticks now. If he's how old is he? 20,
24, 25, 24.
It wouldn't surprise
25.
me if he's in from this moment on, barring serious injury, if he's in the league for the next 8-9 years. It wouldn't surprise me.
I hope you're right. Just to wrap it up, I'll say this: like the numbers would say otherwise, and that's why last night was so important for him, because the numbers would say, like, if you're not in the 8 or 9 man rotation of an NBA team, every year there are 60 new players being drafted. Every year there are younger guys going into the G League. Every year that you are not getting your moment, every year you're not getting that consistent playing time, they are more likely to go with the 19-year-old whose ceiling is higher. So even if your floor is higher than their floor, the ceiling of that 19, 20, 21-year-old rookie or guy in the G League, they are more willing to put that guy as their 10th through 15th guy on the roster than someone like Alize. And that's why last night was so important, because the influx in the numbers would say otherwise. And I'm not saying you're going to be wrong. I'm just saying mathematically, last night was it's hard to say this because he works so hard and he's such a good person. Mathematically, last night was astronomically important for him.
Oh, and I agree. And I'm not saying, as you said, like if I'm the Memphis Grizzlies, if I'm Houston, who's trying to, I'm looking for that guy with a high ceiling because I need ceilings. But if you're a good team, and I'm not even just talking about guys who you need a double-double from in a playoff game. I'm talking about like a practice guy, a bench guy, just a guy to have around who you know is not going to get in trouble, who you know is not an idiot, and who, so if you think that we have a chance to make a deep run in the playoffs, am I looking for that ceiling guy, or am I looking for a guy who's stable and consistent and could help us, and isn't going to do anything stupid to screw us up?
I 100% get your point. I think they're looking for the ceiling guy because in their mind, your roster, when you're roster building, it's not 1 through 16. I'm just going to get the best 16 guys, right? Like you're saying, hey, this guy's 34. This guy's 33 years old. Like we need to make sure that players 13 through 16, 1 or 2 of them are guys that have ceilings, and we're trying to develop them to get that ceiling. I get what you're saying. Think of it this way. He was on the Toronto Raptors preseason, got a couple of minutes in their preseason stuff, plays for their G League team. They moved up 2 other players from the Toronto G League team onto the Toronto Raptors and passed on Alize. And so my point being is like, sometimes it's not as simple as like, we just want the best player to fill those spots at the end of our roster. And I think that's what he was up against, was like, you're up against the younger high ceiling guys that are coming into the league. You're up against positional things. Toronto went with a Henry Ellison, who's like 7 foot tall, 7'1", because they needed size. They wanted size on the end of their bench. There's just a lot of things you're up against. I don't know if it's as simple as like, as long as I'm just the best player when I go out on the floor, I'll get one of those spots. It is hard. And last night was so critical for him. I'm thrilled for him because I don't know. I think to your point, it seems very simplistic. I'll go grab 20 and 15 and people will see that and I will get a spot. And I guess what I'm saying is the league is funky. It doesn't work that way. So
I will change your adjective. And I will say then the league is stupid if he doesn't get a spot somewhere, because there are lots of 7'1" guys who will never go 20. He could go a month and not go 23 and 15, let alone get it in one night.
But think of it this way, like he got a 10-day contract with Brooklyn. And a lot of that was he worked hard and he was ready and he stayed ready. And that's important. I'm not taking anything away from him. But he also got a 10-day contract from Brooklyn because Kevin Durant is hurt. Kyrie Irving wanted his birthday off. Like, he needed the things that he needed to have happen for last night, and you have to be ready for it, and he was ready. But the things that he had to have happen in order to get that chance, like, it's hard. Like, they just don't come up, and he grabbed it last night. And
can I interrupt here? To backtrack a little bit. What Kyrie Irving's birthday? Can you go over that again? What?
He took the Brooklyn Nets came out and said Kyrie Irving was going to miss, I believe, 3 games. I might be getting that wrong. I believe it was 3 games because for a family affair. But Kyrie Irving's birthday was also the second day of that break. So it is speculated that Kyrie Irving told the Brooklyn Nets, I would like to have a week off for my birthday, and the Brooklyn Nets obliged. Which is fine.
He is the first male, because I've heard women say this, like, this is my birthday week, and they, they drag this out. He is the first male ever who had a birthday week, and he has it during the middle of the season.
Yes.
And
welcome to the NBA in 2021.
I know Kyrie's had his issues, and I don't want to turn this into, PTI or anything, but wouldn't you think that as an NBA superstar at a time when your team is missing Harden and Durant, that this is a time where you're like, honey, I know you want me to take a week off, but they kind of need me right now because nobody else can score because they're all in street clothes.
Honestly, I think his opinion was like, if James can't play and Kevin can't play, like, I'm just going to take off and we'll regroup.
That is a different mentality than what we grew up with.
The mental health push, the physical health push, and then also too, like what COVID did to the seasons. It's been such a long season for these guys. They didn't really get an off season. So teams have been much more flexible in what they're allowing their superstar players to do in the time off. And I'm not against it. It's a choice, right? It's what's your mentality, and his mentality is, we all know and we've recognized, is very different than other people's mentality.
Could you picture Larry Bird? Could you picture Larry Bird coming in to talk to Casey Jones and saying, listen, McHale's out, Parrish is out. I'm going to take some time off. Just give the ball to Cornbread Maxwell for the next 10 days, and we'll be okay.
And the 2021 argument would be Larry Bird might have been able to play in the early 90s if you would have done that every once in a while.
Okay, I'll give you that. That's valid.
So I get both sides of it. I do. It's a good argument. I see both sides, and that's why I'm not here to pick one. I think they both have very valid points.
I just wanted to work Cornbread Maxwell into the studio because that's one of my favorite nicknames of all time.
Listen, I can call Jimmy Cornbread if you want me to.
My friends call me Cornbread.
Jimmy Cornbread Messina that's pretty legit.
I don't. He probably don't even eat cornbread. I don't even know. I don't know. Whatever.
Thank you guys for watching the Midday. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show at NorthcentralPA.com. Again, join the Facebook group, The Midday Show. We're going to continue to bring you new topics. We're going to continue to bring you some new sponsors, some new giveaways, some new prizes, and we've got some new antics and new sections coming up that we hope that you enjoy. So join the group, The Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. Thanks for watching at NorthcentralPA.com.
See you tomorrow.